Welcome to the No Budget Indie Filmcast, where we dip into the independent film universe to highlight those little films that you might not have heard about elsewhere. Will you agree with our panel, or will our panel agree with each other? Tune in to find out. I am Milo Dennison, and with me, as always, is Clement Long
Hello.
and Carl Feeney.
Hello.
All right, if you're watching this on YouTube, you probably notice pictures of Marilyn Monroe, or in this case, Ana de Armas, as Marilyn Monroe. So we're reviewing Blonde, which was written and directed by Andrew Dominik, based on the book by Joyce Carol Oates. Now, I want to emphasize this is a fictionalized account inspired by the life of Marilyn Monroe, not a biography. So this is kind of what's getting this film into a lot of trouble, is people are like, well, that didn't happen. That's not right. It's not a biography. It's a fictionalized portrayal of her life. So Ana de Armas plays the famed Marilyn Monroe, or Norma Jean as she's credited in this. And it kind of follows her start. We see her as a little child, her mother who has mental issues, and then she's taken to the neighbors to be taken care of for a little while, and then she's dropped off at a child care place, orphanage. There we go. That's the word I'm looking for. Dropped off at an orphanage. She's taking care of an orphanage. And then we jump years in the future and we see her trying to get into filmmaking. It follows her through her relationships, attempts at babies, that kind of stuff, and even some of her own issues that she works through. The thing with this film is it's long as hell, by the way, but it's so beautifully made. I even looked up the cinematographer, Chase Irvine. It's beautiful the way it's shot, in the sense that it's got black and white, and then it goes to color, and then it goes to like square framing, widescreen, even to portrait at times. It jumps around. You've got these scenes where they're just having a conversation, and there's just beautiful light is softly glowing around her. So it's immaculately well shot from a cinematography standpoint. They also do like kind of this, it's described, the director described it as an avalanche of images and events, is the way he wants people to see this film. And it even mixes in some real Marilyn Monroe footage. What's cool about it too, or at least from that perspective, is the director, he knows that people, and has said this, that people are not going to like this film. And I can see why. It might be too long, it might be too slow, the pacing, the cinematography, the fictional portrayals of her life's events. It's received an NC-17 rating in the United States, which for the Irish here, that basically is between an R rating and an X rating. So for extreme sex and stuff like that, which is weird because there's way more stuff out there that it has R ratings in the US with way more sex than what you see in this. But some of the sexual scenes are kind of a bit violent, and that's probably why. Ana de Armas, I think, is brilliant, especially if you see her normally. The fact that she was able, she was raised in Cuba. She's got dark hair. She's got a very different look to her. They did the hair. She changed her voice and pronunciation and all that kind of stuff. So her portrayal is like really, really brilliant portrayal, I think. So yeah.
I think it was restricted because not the sex scenes, but the abortion scenes.
Yeah.
There's abortion scenes in it. I think that's why it was kind of restricted. But I remember I sat down, I have a projector in my flat. I said, listen, I'll sit down and watch this, because I was curious to see it. I really wanted to see it in the cinema, but it was on for a very short time in the cinema. I missed it. And I had like a bottle of wine, just watching this film. And I was absolutely blown away by it. I felt like I was drunk in parts of it, even though I wasn't. Do you know what I mean? Like, I remember telling you guys, have a few whiskeys, a bottle of wine while watching this film, because it is a roller coaster. Ana de Armas, there was a bit of controversy when she was cast as Marilyn Monroe, because I don't know, she lived in Cuba, or she's saying she's not Cuban, or she's some Cuban heritage. I don't know.
I think born and raised, but she's not actually Cuban. Like, her parents aren't Cuban, but she's from Cuba.
But I mean, that means she is Cuban, like,
Well, it depends. Like, let's say but I guess in regards to ethnicity, right? If I move to a country and have a child there, is my child from that country, or is the child American kind of a thing? So
it's that from that country. That's the whole idea of
Yeah.
you know,
Well,
we're
say
talking
she's
about sort of
Cuban,
nation versus.
purple Cuba, which is kind of Latino
Yeah.
look kind of about her.
mm,
But so there's a bit of controversy when she was cast, but she is phenomenal because when you see her just say Knives Out, she looks nothing like Marilyn Monroe. And she even said that in interviews. I think she might come from a dance background as well, because she said there was one scene that she knew she'd nail, and that was the Diamonds, Our Man's Best Friend scene, where she absolutely mimicked Marilyn Monroe or inhabited Marilyn Monroe. I think she said she didn't want to mimic her, she wanted to inhabit her. And when the costume people put on the wig and all the Marilyn Monroe style on her, I think they all cried because it was just phenomenal. I just was blown away by this. I can see why people would hate it. It's based on a book as well, Blonde, the book. It's not a biopic of Marilyn Monroe. It's more like they've taken probably the bad parts of her life and kind of pulled them apart and probably invented a lot of it. But it's just it blew me away. The cinematography, the acting, the crazy roller coaster sense of it. It's I think she'll be nominated for an Oscar or she'll win for this. I thought it was phenomenal, and I describe it as an experience, and I'm glad I saw it with my projector on the big screen. I'd love to see it in the cinema. It was a total and utter experience, and she captured like the ghost of Marilyn Monroe and how ugly fame can be, and that was captured so well. Yeah, I thought it was phenomenal.
Oh, well. Well, it's interesting you should say that the actress or the actor captured Marilyn Monroe very well, and she did. But in a way, so did Norma Jean Baker, was it? She inhabited Marilyn Monroe.
Oh, you're right.
That came true in the film. Like so,
Yeah.
Marilyn Monroe was an alter ego. I remember hearing some anecdote that she was out. I think it might have been with Arthur Miller and somebody else. And then she says, "Do you want me to be her?" Like, and
Yeah.
she became Marilyn Monroe. So yeah, but
I guess to follow up on that anecdote, because I heard the same one, it's basically
Yeah.
people weren't really recognizing her, and she's like, "Do you want me to be Marilyn?" To see, and then she kind of turned into Marilyn Monroe, and suddenly people are like, "Oh, Marilyn Monroe," kind of coming up to her, kind of thing.
yeah. Uh, well, for me, I didn't like this film. I'm going to say it.
Interesting.
I know you're saying it's not a biopic, so it's not fair to judge it like a biopic, but it did sort of interpret her life in a very sort of particular way, and I'm sure this is, I mean, she had a tough time, she had a tough life, yeah, and she suffered from depression, and ultimately she committed suicide. But I'm sure it wasn't all bad. Like, I'm sure that in some ways she lived the dream. She wanted to be an actress, and she became an actress, and she was, became a superstar, and she had great. She was a good actor, and she had good comedic abilities as well. And none of that came out. And I know you're like, it's not supposed to. That was not the idea of the film. And I take that on board. But like at almost 3 hours, it was
Yeah.
quite a long film to 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 watch. And yeah, I mean, so some of the it does give you a very bleak kind of depiction of Hollywood, which probably not totally undeserved, sort of. There was a lot of chauvinism, a lot of sexism, but I don't think that her it seems to give the impression that her overall experience was one of misery, yeah. But I'm sure it was more balanced. Um, so I mean, I'm not going to just accept that it's not a biopic, because it definitely did transcend the whole biopic sort of field. So I'm gonna judge it on that basis.
Mm. Interesting. Yeah, it is a very bleak depiction of her life. But they like, was she sexually assaulted by a, studio head or whatever and stuff? Entirely possible. I mean, we had the Harvey Weinstein thing in our generation, right? So it's entirely possible that stuff like that happened in her generation. And you are right. Like, if she became an actress and then hated it so much, why did she stay acting? Well, in this, didn't seem to much care for it at all, but yet she kept doing it for whatever reason. So there is that aspect of it, but it's certainly telling a very specific type of a story that has kind of excludes some of the, obviously a lot of the positives.
And I thought the scenes with the mother were brilliantly done and extremely disturbing. Like, that really set up the film. There's one scene where the mother sets the house on fire, and it was so well done and so disturbing, and set up this feel for the rest of the film. It kind of shocked you, and you're in this mode of shock for the rest of the film. I found another scene was very interesting, was the John F. Kennedy scene, where she goes into John F. Kennedy. It's, that could have happened. You don't know.
Well, yeah, I mean, I thought that was quite unfair on JFK as well.
Yeah, people said that.
It made him out to be a sort of an abusive, chauvinistic, entitled arsehole. And I mean, even the rumors that he had an affair, maybe he did, but I mean, they are just rumors, so.
Yeah. And generally the rumors about it are that it was, they both enjoyed the affair, like
it was
that
consensual if it happened.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, I'm sure it was.
Yeah.
It was a bit gratuitous, actually, that scene, and also that particular scene could have contributed to the R rating, I think.
Could be.
But yeah, I mean, it was beautifully shot, absolutely. I mean, I was kind of doing a bit of background reading as well about this, and they showed, I mean, I must say, like, the scenes when they showed Some Like It Hot, when they kind of integrated her into the actual footage, I mean, it looked really convincing.
Yeah.
It was brilliant. Yeah.
But
yeah, that's the thing. And even the sound design too. Like, I didn't mention that, but like, the sound, that there's just so many scenes without like music and stuff, and it's literally just the effects of the thing.
It was a total experience.
Yeah,
like,
really
I would love to be sitting in the cinema with proper sound effects.
Yeah,
it must have been
proper big screen and proper sound around you. Yeah. Well, if it does get nominated for an Academy Award, they'll probably, do re-showings somewhere or something.
I don't know if I could sit through 3 hours. I mean,
an edited down version of it.
Yeah. I mean, it was, brilliantly made, beautifully shot, everything, and a great performance. But it just went on, like, it could have been an hour shorter.
I just thought it's definitely a film you have to have a few drinks with. There's some films I just find it was, I don't know if you had a few whiskeys, Milo, when you watched it.
I thought about it because I did remember you saying that, and I'm like,
yeah,
whiskey real quick before starting watching.
I mean? Because when you're watching these kind of surreal films, it's kind of, when you have a drink,
they help.
It kind of adds to the experience. That's what I find. Anyway.
I was joking though during watching it. I'm like, speaking of whiskey, I was like, should make a drinking game out of this. And every time she says daddy or cries, you have to take a drink, because there was a lot of crying and there was a lot, like, all of like the husbands and guys. Every time she was like, okay, daddy, I'm sorry, daddy, like referred, and it's like creepy.
Yeah, that was all creepy.
Wasn't it? And also the whole claustrophobic feel to it in parts. Like when she's there, he goes, people crowding in at her, and because celebrities, if you ever see like celebrity footage on the internet, and it's like a circus of art in public. You know what I mean? The Kardashians or something. They captured that so well, and it made you feel so claustrophobic watching it in parts as well.
I mean, it's kind of ironic there that you felt you had to kind of drink through the film. Like, one of the themes was that she was addicted to prescription medicine. So in order for you to sort of appreciate
it was an interesting experience. It was, because I was one Friday night I went to watch it, and I think I had a gin and tonic as well as wine. I shouldn't really mix them.
That's why Claire liked it. She was drunk when she was watching it. She's like, yeah, this is great.
I feel I was drunk though, because that's what film made you feel drunk. you know, in one way. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or high or something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, the editing and everything as well.
Mhm.
So
And by the way, like, I mean, the sort of the stories about her abortions, for instance. I mean, how
I don't think
true.
that's true. I think she had endometriosis in real life,
yeah,
Mhm.
she
which
did.
hard to have kids. Yeah.
Yeah, she has confirmed had not abort.
Endometriosis.
Yeah,
Oh,
because
Miscarriage.
miscarriage. There you go.
oh,
So
did
so
she?
that yeah,
Okay.
she did when she was married to Arthur Miller for sure. I'm not sure about anybody else, but so she did have miscarriage. Is I think actually two of them. I could be
Yeah.
wrong. Somebody can correct me on that. But yeah, there's no proof that she ever had an abortion
Or
No, I
she
think
was
that's made
forced to
up.
have an abortion.
or forced to have one, or
Yeah.
yeah, was kidnapped in the middle of the
Yeah.
night and
That
drugged. And
was so disturbing. Like that was really disturbing, you know, that scene. Yeah.
mm,
I do like. I was going to say with something like it hot that she was. It was a difficult film for her and for the Billy
Yeah.
Wilder, and seemingly uh, there was one scene where she said, "Say hi, sugar, it's me," or something, and it took her 47 takes because she kept getting it wrong. Uh, she kept going, "Sugar, it's me, hi," and all this kind of stuff, and then for another, I don't know if you remember the scene where she was on the beach and um, what's his name, Tony Curtis was pretending to be like the the owner of
the
Shell,
girl, yeah.
yeah, and they had put aside 3 days for that scene because they thought it's just going to take her that long, and seemingly it was done in 20 minutes.
Heard the pills that she was on that day, like
Yeah,
kept
It
her
is so
straight.
sad though, isn't it?
It
To
is
think like
so
she could be
sad.
still alive today. Like, you know, it is, everyone knows what happened to Marilyn Monroe, you know, or like, but it's just, it's so desperately sad to see
Yes.
what she could have done, you know, because she was a comedian, she definitely had like comedy timing and, you
hmm
know, she was brilliant at that kind of stuff. I'd say she was a good dramatic actress as well.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like, and she did set up her own independent company, and
Yeah.
it said that she kind of you know, sort of brought about or was instrumental in some ways in sort of breaking the hold that studios had on actors,
Yeah.
and she was getting more sort of independence in the kind of type of films that she wanted to do and the roles she wanted to play.
I'd say she had a really tough side to her. I get the impression. Like I'd say she stood up to a lot of people as well. I get the impression that she wasn't like a pushover as such. Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, yeah, she had her own ideas, she had her own opinions
yeah,
on the characters, uh, and I think the scene with Arthur Miller, uh, I think she was well read too. So
yeah.
she wasn't a dope by any manner of
No,
means.
Yeah. 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 Who knows where her career could have ended up? Like if she had still lived, like she could have done amazing things. But
Would she
dying so
have been the
tragically.
icon she is now if she
That's
had?
exactly it. Like, would she
mhm,
be? Because we remember her as this beautiful,
yeah,
tragic, died young kind of thing. And it's like if she lived a full life, would it be as big of a thing? I don't know. I mean, you think Elizabeth Taylor, she had a long life and a long career, and she's well regarded throughout history. So it
yeah,
could have
But
been.
she's not. She is well regarded, but she doesn't. She's not iconic in the way that Marilyn Monroe is.
Yeah, it's true.
Marilyn Monroe, apparently, Elvis Presley, and Mickey Mouse are the three American icons.
really.
All well, other than Mickey Mouse died tragically.
Yeah,
Mm,
Mickey Mouse lived tragically.
yeah, lives on.
Yeah. All right.
Uh,
Should we wrap it up then?
Okay,
Ratings.
so for me, it was a stunning film. It blew me away. It's amazing cinematography, amazing acting. It's going to be up for a lot of Oscars, and I'd say Ana de Armas will win the Oscar for Best Actress. So it's 5 stars.
wow, um, brilliant performance, very well made, beautifully shot. But I, I, I didn't really enjoy it. It just dragged for me, and I thought, even though it was supposed to be an interpretation of one aspect of her life, I kind of thought it was unfair in a lot of ways. I'm going to give it 2 stars.
Ooh, wow. Yeah, I think it will probably be up for some Oscars as well. I think it's a beautiful film. I do agree with your points, Cathal, but I'm putting that aside. I'm gonna go 4 stars. The reason I'm not doing 5 is because it is too long. It's like what, 2 hours and 50 minutes. Like, it is too damn long. There's definitely stuff that could have been cut out, and it would still have been just as good of a film to me.
See, I think the wine and gin helped me.
It could be.
That's why I'm giving it 5 stars.
Yeah, but like from an acting standpoint and a filmmaking
yeah.
standpoint, it's just absolutely brilliant. Her performance is just amazing. Well, there you have it, No Budget Filmcast audience. Let us know what you think of Blonde. You can reach out to us on Instagram, Twitter, or Facebook, or leave a comment if you're watching this on YouTube. And we'll say see you next time, and goodbye.